Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Endicott Call Centers podcast. Endicott Call Centers connects your business with 24/7 call center solutions for businesses and any outsourced needs. We customize our services and adopt your company culture to provide the best customer experience. Ultimately, we are in the people business and hand select only the best agents for your program. With virtual assistants, live chat, and premier answering services, Endicott Call Centers prides itself on decades of delivering state-of-the-art communications technology and outsourced call center services, including inbound calls, outbound calls, HIPAA-compliant secure text messaging, email response, live chat, and more. We are your extended partner for world-class business extension and customer care. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Endicott Call Centers podcast. I'm your host, Craig Castelletto, and I'm here today with John Bryant, the Senior Operations Manager here at Endicott. John, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, anytime. John, I was hoping we could kind of get things kicked off by having you tell us a little bit about your background and what your role here is at Endicott as the Senior Operations Manager.
Sure. So I've actually been in the answering service field or industry form since the late 80s. My grandparents started a company back in 1970 called Bryant Answering Service. From there, I would go to the office as a kid and do some duties around the office, empty trash cans, do some billing, stuff some folders, make some message slips. Started taking calls when I was about 12 years old. One of the interesting stories is I would walk from middle school to the office and actually help with the call load at checkout times for the 24-hour operation. Progressed from there, became an office manager. After that point in time, I became a GM for the site and kind of led me to my role today as a senior ops manager where I oversee 4 of the Endicott offices.
So you could say it's pretty much been in your blood for a long time.
Completely has been in my blood. I felt like I was basically born in the office.
And I'm sure that just having that experience, I'm sure you learned a lot.
Yeah, so I was raised by my grandparents. They were the business owners. They kind of guided me along my way, but a lot of things that I discovered from the technology piece of it to customer service to HR interactions with the employees was all kind of trial by fire a little bit and using my grandmother as a resource just to be able to guide me and help me out.
In reference to Endicott and you working as a senior operations manager, what would you say is like the core responsibilities of what you do there and how you kind of manage your daily day-to-day operations there?
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I do is not only am I the support coaching relief for 4 offices, but I oversee the operations, making sure call flows, queues, calls are answered in a timely fashion, no customer issues, making sure that our dispatch times out to our clients are fully functional within standards, basically. Making sure that we've got enough operators in rotation to handle the call flow, and then checking in on the day-to-day from each site, making sure there's no operational issues inside their facilities, right? So I basically just making sure business keeps moving.
Is this something that you could plan ahead for? Or is it just it's just a reactionary thing on a daily basis when you come there to work?
So a lot of the things that we do from a scheduling piece are just from call flow patterns. So we understand typically what a call flow day looks like. However, there are many things that change that throughout the day. Some offices may lose power. They may not have staff that actually show up to work. So we're here to support them in every venture that we may have clients that have a website outage, right? So all of a sudden the traffic that they normally handle online now becomes a phone call. So we have to kind of ramp up in a quick fashion. There's no expectation for that. We just schedule with a little bit of buffer there to kind of cover that. But sometimes we have to reallocate all of our resources. So admin staff, managers, they may actually have to jump on the call load at a moment's notice.
How good do you feel that you are at multitasking?
I think I'm very good. I actually work with 3 computer screens and a dashboard monitor. I feel like I'm in everything, whether it's through Skype messaging to instant messaging tools inside of our CRM, to responding to text messages. I mean, I think it's just part of my blood. It's the brain's always going. I'm just always looking at it, always focused, and always trying to figure out what we can do to make things better.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like in your industry and specifically probably in your role that that's got to almost be like, it seems like a prerequisite that you have to have that ability to multitask.
Yeah, I think it's actually the number one thing, right? That's really the job headline, right? It's multitasking should be the first prerequisite for this job, or same as for the site managers. I mean, they really have to be able to have their hands in multiple things at multiple times to make sure things are going smooth.
And I'm sure that's what makes you effective for your clients, right? And knowing that they're going to be able to have you guys answer the calls, and if there is an issue, to be able to come up with a quick solution.
Yeah, that's what they count on us for. They count us for just to be a solution, right? They when they call, they know that we're going to have an answer, and if we don't have an answer immediately for them, that we'll find a solution for them. I mean, ultimately, that's what we hear. That's what they pay us for. So it's our job to make sure that we can figure out a way to make it happen.
Just out of curiosity, do a lot of your clients, do they get involved in the actual process of what it takes to handle all that behind the scenes stuff to handle the calls? Or are they just making sure that these calls are handled efficiently and that we're getting whatever we need to get done?
So the majority of our clients actually are not very hands-on. They will get the initial programming going, get us some contact information, get us some content on the information that we need to ask their callers. And then we may never hear from them again. I mean, as long as things are going good, our system's up and running, we're handling their calls in a timely fashion, we're taking accurate information and delivering it to them. I may not hear from them again. Then there's a small handful of clients that actually live and breathe the day-to-day, right? So they're very involved. They want to hear the recordings. They want to see the call qualities that come through the messages. They want to see how quickly we answer the phone, what their interaction, what their wait times are. But it's just really a small percentage of our customers.
Do you have a preference as a manager of working with businesses that are more, let's say, want to know more about what's going behind the scenes, or more of like, hey, listen, you guys are the experts. You guys handle what you need to handle?
Hey, I've been doing it for so long, I can appreciate both sides. I really can. I understand that some of it can come down to they don't have enough time. That's why they're resourcing or outsourcing us to handle that for them, and they really trust it because we've been in the business for almost 50 years, and we've been around. And we can definitely have a reputation to stand on. And then I do like the other side too, because it gets to be creative, reinventive. It doesn't give me the day to day. I get to kind of figure out some problems and dive in and help them, and maybe things that they may focused on or trying to drive is something or a solution that I can come up and provide them because I've experienced it before, or, we can brainstorm with the team to kind of come up with a solution.
What's interesting is that when we actually talked to set up this interview, I got the impression that you were had the very good ability to wear many hats at many different times. And it's amazing, like that whole decision-making process and trying to figure all that stuff out, how it's just it doesn't seem like there's a daily day in the call center business. Like there isn't like a standard, I should say, day.
There's not a standard day. I mean, and that's one of the beauties of this position and this kind of work is that you never really know. You have an idea what you're going to do, but there's always a variation from so many different levels. I mean, every day I kind of have an idea what I'm going to get myself into, and then it just seems like it automatically takes a turn. No matter the moment I sign in, something's happening.
I'm sure that makes you really good, and it makes Endicott really good at what you guys do.
I want to say it's adaptability, right? We can adapt so quick to so many different situations, and the team that we have really just puts on their best efforts to accommodate not only our customers, but our employees as well.
You mentioned team. How much does the team aspect make you guys more effective with what you guys are doing?
So team it plays a pivotal role in Endicott because we're what we call multi-site. So we have multiple locations that actually handle call flow from all different areas. So we're very well involved. Even though we have clients all over the country, we may have team members from different offices that participate and assist those clients. So it gives us that diversity effect and also gives us that stability effect to have redundancy in multiple locations and have exposure and experience. So that kind of plays a role in Endicott in general. If there's a weather event, if there's something that's going on, Endicott is not siloed to say that one office can only facilitate and handle a client. We have some flexibility where we have staffing at different locations. And right now, Endicott's operating about 130 employees.
Is there something specific about your location that is very unique?
Yeah, so I'm actually based in the Miami office, and what's really unique about the Miami office is that we're the bilingual call center or the overflow line for all of our locations. So a lot of that Spanish content comes from the Miami office, and so is supported on a day-to-day. And we probably handle roughly about 1,500 calls just from the Spanish aspect on a daily basis.
Do you have calls that are specifically redirected to your location for those needs?
Well, definitely. So in our world, we actually have what we call a Spanish queue or Spanish transfer. So calls may actually start out with an agent answering in English, and the caller may request a Spanish operator. If they can't continue to take that information, they populate or push that to a Spanish queue. That Spanish queue is housed in the Miami office. So the first available operator or agent will take that call and be able to continue on with that message.
Talk about being very diverse with just the services and stuff that you're providing and helping people get to whatever solution they need to get to. I mean, you definitely have the staff there to help them do that. That's pretty cool.
Yes, yeah, it is. I mean, it's kind of what makes us unique. We don't have to outsource. We don't have to call a language line. We are bilingual within ourselves.
Is that common for other call centers in the industry to provide that service?
Depending on their location, other answering services utilize a third party to be able to assist with these types of calls in other languages. And so we have that dynamic in-house, which kind of helps in multiple ways. It helps them with an expedition process, basically, so we can expedite that call process. And it also is cost savings because we're not paying another company to do that translation.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of leads me into my next question. For clients and businesses looking to hire or use Endicott for call center needs, other than the bilingual side of it, what other services does Endicott provide that maybe can help them be more effective and efficient in their business?
We do a variety of things. So we'll do some scheduling. We can utilize our own scheduler, or we can interface with the client scheduler to set up appointments or to set up any kind of visits. So not just limiting ourselves to maybe sales or medical or anything that requires appointment setting. We can actually feature something like that. We also have secure messaging, which is an application that will allow it to be HIPAA compliant to transmit information back and forth from our system to a device. We can send that to an iPad, an iPhone, a Google device. It gives us that information flexibility so that we were transmitting information securely. In addition to that, we do some tier 1, tier 2 support. We can act as a help desk and be able to handle some of that level 1 stuff that comes through and be the voice or face of the company just with the information that we have to provide FAQs to the clients.
So what do you think separates Endicott maybe from other call centers out there in providing these types of services? What do you think that separates them from those others?
I think the biggest thing is our team. It's the amount of experience that we have from a management side or from a customer service side. A lot of the sites have team members with extensive history. We've got some employees that have been with us 10 or 15 years, and just be able to deliver on that and know what the clients expect from us will set us aside because our QA, we try to focus on that and say that we're second to none. So we want to make sure that we drive that through. So the call handling, the experience from start to finish, we want to say is just the best in the industry.
Is there a specific client situation that you personally found very challenging? And can you discuss a little bit how you resolved or overcame that situation?
Yeah. So, sometimes clients come to us with specific needs. So not always do we have a cut and dry protocol. So when we take information from clients, we may want to contact them in different methods or different ways. And it may be time of day specific. So we may have a client that at certain time of the day wants to be text message, at certain time of the day wants to be called on their cell phone, at certain time of the day wants to be called at home. And sometimes that becomes a little bit of a challenge because it's not the norm for us. So what we're able to do is we worked with our vendor and we created a customized dispatch script so that the system, based on time of day, will automatically route those calls. So agents are no longer making decisions. They're kind of guided to that process based on a time of day. So it becomes very open that if a client wants something done at a specific time, we were able to write this procedure so that the client could be contacted and in the exact same way every time, depending on the time of day, which makes it one of the biggest things in our world is not only taking the message, but getting the message out accurately. So that becomes a stuck point at some point in time. And having these auto dispatch scripts in place resolve a lot of problems. And it resolved a lot of client issues that we had in general, just definitely helped them out.
I was going to ask you, have you seen the results of that change and have you gotten some feedback from that?
Yeah, definitely. So it would go from maybe making a couple mistakes a week to not making any mistakes at all once we implemented this process. So it drove down the customer service or the account executive piece of always being involved with a particular client. Not only that, but it went over the client to know that we could come up with a solution that would actually benefit their business.
What would you say is the most enjoyable part about specifically working for Endicott?
I think it's the people and coaching the people, right? So my biggest thing is I'm a constant coach. I'm a constant cheerleader. I'm making sure that we fix any problem that comes up and find the best solution. So most enjoyable is just the environment that it's in and the people that support it.
You're not just helping out in the call center side, but you're just managing people and personalities and different things. So you're literally pulled in many different directions.
No matter what we do in our day, we're always focused. And if the phone stops ringing, we all won't have a place to be able to call Endicott. So we're always focused on the first call first.
First thing that comes to mind, when you hear the words customer service, what does that mean to you?
In my mind, it's a one call resolution. It's satisfaction. It's an enjoyable experience. It's being able to resolve a problem. It's being able to carry that with not only a good quality, a good tone in your voice, but it means the ability to fix something that's wrong. So customer service to me is just frontline representation of a company and then being able to mimic maybe not only the way our clients would resolve problems, but the way that Endicott could actually resolve problems with just their team and their focus.
I was curious to find out what customer service really means to you, because it seems like that is really the backbone of what you do.
Yeah.
Whether you're facilitating customer service through the people that you manage or actually dealing with the client hands-on, it seems like it's all obviously customer service based.
Yeah, I mean, everything that we do is customer service based. Every interaction, every phone call, every email response, anything that we do, anything that we touch, any transaction that comes into Endicott is really customer service. So our life is constantly touched, and sometimes it's touched 15,000 times a day. It just depends on the day and the interactions. But our call volume, we have to remind ourselves to take things one call at a time, because, even though the queue may be going crazy with number of phone calls, we don't want to distract ourselves. We want to pay attention to one call and make sure that the client the customer doesn't feel like they're a number, right? That they're a person that actually truly do mean something to us. So we're not going to cut corners just because the queue is full of calls. We're going to take them one call at a time and make sure they're happy with our resolution.
Is there anything that the customer service representatives are doing to make that call experience like a personal one for people that call, that wind up talking to your agency?
So, I mean, we go through extensive training with the agents, and they definitely we want to make sure that they're engaged with the callers. So there's going to be depending on the type or nature of the call, there will be empathy that's passed on. There will be information that they can kind of interact. We don't want to treat them just as a caller. We want to make sure that their experience is, because we're representing companies, we want to make sure that they feel like they're getting that value of if they handled and they contacted the company directly, because at the end of the day, our workforce is basically extensions of offices. So we want to make sure that we pass that on to them. So if they're not happy or they're not satisfied, the agents will make sure they go out of the way to resolve problems. And they may ask them multiple times, is there anything that they can help them with, just to ensure that they feel like they've accomplished what they started out when they made that phone call to begin with.
I was thinking about this in your business. I think about it, you're in the call center business, but really, would you agree that you're probably more in the people business?
We're definitely in the people business because, like I said, sometimes we're experiencing 15,000 interactions. So that is just, you have to be a people person to be able to work at this company, because there's not one part of your day that you're not going to have an interaction with an individual. It may not be face to face, right? We may not have face to face interactions, but we have voice interactions, we have email interactions, that digital footprint that leaves us out there. If you're not people oriented, it's definitely not the career path for you or the place for you to work.
And the interesting thing I find is that a lot of times people are calling because because they're having an issue or they need a problem resolved, and they're just looking for that. They're looking to hear that voice or find that person that's going to get them from where they are now to where they need to be. And that's like a really important role that you guys play in your business, is to try to guide them down that path.
Well, that's interesting that you say it like that, because that really is a big role for us. And we find that a lot of our callers, some of them want that handheld interaction, and some of them already have done the background research, right? They're 5 steps ahead, and they're not looking for someone to take a message, right? They're looking for someone to resolve those issues. So that's what kind of sets us apart a little bit, because we have the clients that still require the hand holding all the way through. Let me take your information and pass that on to the next person. And then we have, well, I've already done that process before. How can you expedite me, and how can you get me further along, because I've done this process before. So it's an interesting interaction from the agent's perspective, because not all agents can transact that way. So I think that we have our own dynamic where we have different layers or different levels of agents based on these types of calls that come in and the clients.
John, is there anything that maybe you haven't been previously asked before about your role or about Endicott that you feel will be important for people to know about the industry, or that what Endicott is doing to stand out in the call center business?
It's an interesting path. Nothing's really focused on it, but I think that people play a pivotal role in this type of field, and it's a lot of fields. It actually was thought to be a dying field many times, right? As electronics and technology has come in, IVR systems, things that were thought to kind of curb this type of business has done nothing but propel it, because all it's done is that an additional layer of maybe qualifying the call to get to an actual person. So what we've seen in our business, or our trend, is that technology is beautiful as long as you can kind of cultivate it, work with it, manage it. One of the things that I'm anticipating to see where this goes is like the AI rules, these AI bots and things like that. How is that going to change the product that we offer today? And is that going to take and erase the hand holding? Is that going to be able to kind of progress the call and make it a tier 2 call versus a tier 1 call? And then we have to kind of look for the talent to support that. So the one things in my industry is always like forward thinking. What's going to happen next? Where are we putting ourselves? And because I've been in the business for such a long period of time, I've seen those transitions come through. And one thing that's amazing to me is that the business keeps going stronger and stronger because the need to hire people that can do these customer service versus the forward-facing filing things in people's offices where they need to be able to have interaction. They can't focus on maybe the call load, let's say. We offer a unique resource for that because, you're not paying someone to sit in a chair for hours and hours upon a day. You're paying by the activity that the calls are generated. So if we only generate 5 calls a day or we generate 500 calls a day, you're not paying somebody to sit in a chair for 8 hours. You're paying somebody based on that volume. So it's kind of a unique process that we bring to the table. And then it's good to staff that way. I mean, we're kind of like a staffing agency in essence for these clients because we're filling that need and void where it is to hire somebody and pay them to sit in front of and wait for the phone to ring. We're waiting for the phone to ring all day long because we're 24/7. So, but we have enough clients to support the call load in business and keep our team members busy.
Yeah, what's interesting is it seems the business will always be, and I'm not too sure if this eventually will go away, and it would be a shame if it did, but it seems like it's always rooted or the foundation of it, I should say, is in the human element. It's just having that person behind that phone that you can speak to as opposed to getting a recording.
We're like a safety blanket. We really are. We really are. And it's the human element. How many people don't like interactions with voicemail systems? They don't feel like there's a sense of closure, right? I left a message with a machine. Is that machine going to deliver that message to a person? Now, I left a message with a person. You would think it'd be almost the same dynamic, but I would believe that the human element to that is they're definitely going to follow through and they'll definitely get it in the hands of somebody else. It won't be lost in space. In the digital, the digital world, it won't be lost in space because I spoke to this person on this day and they were going to do this and this is what they told me, right? Versus electronically, the voicemail will say, leave your message and we'll make sure we deliver it. But where's that trust? You're out in space and you're kind of just holding on a prayer. Oh, did it work? Did it crash? Did it not get delivered? But no, I talked to Sally at the call center and she told me she was going to do this. So that reassurance is definitely, I don't think there's anything that can replace that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. And I know from being a caller and calling for help, trying to resolve an issue, that I appreciate hearing someone's voice on the other side of that line and knowing that they're helping me. And I feel it's just a lot more of a personal relationship that I have with the business I'm trying to call, is that I have that person who's helping me along the way as opposed to going through a bunch of different prompts and not having the faith that, the issue is going to be resolved.
Well, and I guess part of the challenge is as we get more and more involved in this digital piece or technology piece is it's instant gratification, right? The results are immediate. People are searching their phones or searching their devices for all these answers, right? So when they call somebody to get that information, it's not like they haven't tried that 5 times and you're going to give them the same response that they've checked or researched 5 times. That's what's going to separate it. That's what will change things. And that's how I'm looking at the future of our industry and the future of the call center.
John, I just wanted to really just thank you so much for taking part in this interview about Endicott and about your role and everything that you're doing. I really do appreciate your time and appreciate all the insight that you provided today.
Hey, man, I can't appreciate enough for just having me on. And this is my first podcast experience, so I appreciate that.
Anytime, you got it. Thanks again.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Endicott Call Centers podcast. To find out more, head on over to www.endicottcom.com. That's Endicott, COMM.com.